So we're going to go to MSNBC, and I have not talked about Joy Reid in quite some time, but she had on Moms for Liberty, Tiffany Justice, and they discussed the quote-unquote banning of books in public school libraries. And I want to show you the arguments made and why they are so dishonest.
Parents of LGBTQ kids, do they have parental rights?
Every parent, Joy. Every parent means every parent has the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children.
And liberal parents? Do liberal parents have those rights as well?
All parents.
Didn't she just say that every parent does? You want to make this a liberal conservative thing? She just said everyone again.
Sure.
So let me point you to some statistics, because the question becomes then who gets to decide what all kids get to read. The Washington Post took a look at about 1,000+ book challenges that were filed, and they found that they were filed nationwide by just 11 people. Each of these people brought 10 or more challenges against books in their school district. Together, these serial filers constituted 6% of all book challengers, but they were responsible for 60% of filings. In Florida, Tampa Bay Times, they found that of roughly 1,100 complaints recorded in Florida since July 2022, we're talking about more than 700 just from two counties, Escambia in the Western Panhandle and Clay County. Together, those are less than 3% of the public school enrollment, 600 of those complaints, 2 people. Why should 13 people get to decide what books tens of thousands of children get to read?
Well, I'm thinking it's probably because those 13 people saw what some of the content was in the books. I mean, explicit, graphic, sexual content. And I'm happy to talk about some of that content if you'd like to.
Yes, very good answer. But just remember, the fact is that there are very few people that hone in and choose the various books that go into school libraries. The librarian, some of the teachers, maybe somebody in the district, but it's not that many. So the framing that the people for Moms of Liberty are deciding what everybody can and cannot read is a false assertion. What is factual is that they are objecting to certain books of sexual content. Continue.
Well, this is the question again. The books that are being banned, I want to give you just some...
Books are being banned.
No, hold on a second.
Well, no, Joy, but I want to be clear. No one's banning books. Write the book, print the book, publish the book, put the book in the public library, sell the book, right? We're talking about a public school library. Children don't have unfettered access to the internet at school.
I completely give her credit for this, because this is the framing and the words that the left choose to use. They want the public to believe that they're banning books, banning anything in America. It's anti the ethos of this country, which is about liberty of the individual. But the left doesn't care, so they co-opt the language and try to frame it as though we're banning the book. No, we're moving it from the school library. The book is still available, as Tiffany Justice said, in bookstores, on Amazon, in your home. She's 100% right, and I guarantee you that Joy Reid is going to use the word banning books again, because she can't help herself, because they're fundamentally dishonest people.
I did a FOIA records request, and I wanted to see what kinds of internet sites are banned in schools, if we're going to talk about banning, right? And the subject matter in the books that moms are concerned about are the same things that kids don't have access to on the internet. So it just feels very hypocritical, right? No, why is no one out there protesting for, you know, free the internet in schools?
Let me give you an example of some of the books that have been removed from shelves as a result of the activities of organizations like Moms for Liberty.
We're not going to talk like Moms for Liberty. We're going to talk specifically Moms for Liberty.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy to have this conversation with you, Joy.
Absolutely.
But we're going to be specific about the actions of Moms for Liberty chapters.
100%.
Because I can't be possibly responsible for every single parent in America.
But your organization is the lead. You're the leading organization that's doing this. You have chapters all over the country, and other organizations are following your lead. And PEN America has listed, they have posted the list of books that have been removed from shelves as a result of these activities. Let me just read you a couple of them. Anne Frank's A Diary of a Young Girl. Mouse, which is a book about the Holocaust, a graphic novel. Genderqueer, a memoir. All Boys Aren't Blue. Beloved, Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. Ruby Bridges Goes to School. Slaughterhouse-Five, The Color Purple, Forever by Judy Blume. I could go on. These are books that are not only popular, in some cases are classics. Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. Let me give you an example.
Well, I'd like to answer your question.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, so you just mentioned a list of books. And so Moms for Liberty doesn't have like a national book list. There was never a list of books that we put out and said, parents, be concerned about these books, right? We didn't do it because we want our parents to be effective advocates. So when moms are going into the libraries and the schools, when they're seeing what their children have access to, when they go to speak to the superintendent or the principal, they have accurate information, right? They're
and where are they
advocates.
getting their information from?
You can just go online to a catalog in your children's library, and you can see what
without
books are
reading
available.
the books. What is
without reading the books? That's what she's sliding in there. And by the way, I can't imagine that really Diary of Anne Frank is prohibited. I think that is a red herring that Joy Reid is inserting there to draw your attention.
What is booklooks.com?
I'm aware of a website called booklooks.com where parents can go and see some of the books that other parents are concerned about.
Booklooks.com has been used in Florida extensively in counties like, I used to live in Broward County. I lived there for 14 years.
Okay.
In counties like Broward, counties like Clay, counties like Escambia, Moms for Liberty activists are using booklooks.com. And it's essentially a cliff notes for books.
Yeah.
So you go through without even having to read the book. I'm going to just hold it up so our audience can see what it looks like. This is the one for All Boys Aren't Blue, which is one of the books Moms for Liberty has pushed.
Everyone should go and see the content in this book. That's such a good idea.
And so what happens is you can do keyword searches and find certain keywords.
Like rape.
You can find
or anal rape or dildo.
You can find all sorts
those
of
types
keywords.
of words. But like
wait, hold on, wait. Let me finish my question. Then you can answer.
Sure.
I'm going to give you time to answer, but I got to ask you first.
No, yeah, I got the question.
And so what you find is the keyword that you find, the N-word, anything, words like you just used, then you'll get out of context passages from the book. And then based on that, Moms for Liberty members are going to places like Broward County school board meetings, reading out of context passages from these books.
MSNBC is now complaining about taking words out of context the same way that they took the Fine People hoax out of context and played it over and over to accuse Trump of racism, even though he specifically stated that he condemns the white nationalists and the neo-Nazis totally. It's so absurd to me that they're complaining about the very actions that they do, but they're allowed to do it, and yet they want to condemn people for behaving in what they are framing as a similar manner, even though I bet you that we're going to find out that's not the case.
And then demanding that the school board remove them.
So that
is the way. Yeah. The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for
do.
you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school?
Yes, I, as a parent, completely agree. I want to shield my son, who is now 6, from this crap. I do not want him knowing about it. I do not want him knowing that there are people so evil that they would engage in such actions. I don't even want him to know what they are. That is my prayer, that I can keep his innocence. But the leftists, they want everybody exposed to the misery and what they might have gone through or what they want to perpetrate on the youth. Great answer by her.
I mean, that's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child.
Great answer.
Hold a second.
No, wait, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me questions.
Sure.
I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main character in All Boys Aren't Blue?
You're asking.
What? Is that her answering the question, or is that her deflecting? Again, this is a common tactic that people will use. It's like a pattern interrupt. You're bearing down on them, and they will ask you what is a completely irrelevant question in order to sidetrack you and prevent your attack. It's kind of like in Top Gun, the movie, when they drop flares to draw the missile away instead of the honing in and the honing beacon and blowing that shit up. God, I hope that she just asks her again. You didn't answer my question. What are you doing asking me this nonsense?
You just gave me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Hold on. Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
She's such an evil person, Joy Reid. She's deflecting by asking for the main character of the book. It's obvious that Tiffany Justice knows the contents of the book, and yet she's being asked to name the main character.
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name
remembered
of the author
very
doesn't
specific things.
Joy.
Here's my question.
We're talking about.
Here's my question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your question.
I would love
No, she's not. She's not going to answer the question. She's going to keep going. So bear down on her and don't let her get away with it. Hone in on that Russian MiG that is Joy Reid in her Trump wig and blow her up. I would like to see that on national TV. Just poof, and no more Joy Reid.
to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation. Okay.
Oh, yeah, but don't answer the question. Keep sidestepping and throwing out the flares in order to distract me from my mission, which is to get you to answer. In what context is a strap-on dildo and anally raped youth by his family members appropriate in public schools?
So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public schools.
Yes.
This
let's
book
get real.
is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBT...
A liberal parent or a pedophile parent? Those are the people that want to indoctrinate these kids into believing that this is somehow socially acceptable, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to legitimize maps. What is a map, you might ask? A minor attracted person. Video, if you're watching on YouTube, will be here above. It's just absolutely crazy to me that Joy Reid is defending pedophilia.
LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to say they can't?
So
they do have a right. Sorry, Tiffany, I'm answering for you. You're probably going to say this. They absolutely have a right to go out and purchase whatever material they want. Tiffany Justice and Moms for Liberty just don't want their children exposed to this filth.
Again, we're talking about incest, rape, and pedophilia.
And each parent, each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child.
You see, anytime that Tiffany Justice is answering her question, Joy Reid just talks over her. She is a conversational bully. Oh my goodness, she's an evil person.
Reid, so I want you to answer. I'm going to ask it one more time.
We'll ask it one more time.
To tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story, why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member, they've experienced
and your proof of that is what?
You just said that if a child feels seen.
What's your proof of that? What normal kid is going to be seen by such an odd story about stuff that I pray to God that they have no intimate knowledge of? They're going to be seen by it because we're often seen, if I've dreamed of being an explorer my whole life and chopping through the jungles of South America, and I read about somebody who did this, I might be attracted to it. I might be seen. I played baseball as a kid. I was not bad. And I would be felt seen by reading a story about a youth baseball player. Do you have to be an expert to know this? Are you going to make that appeal to authority, Joy Reid, over and over again and try to present Tiffany as somebody who should not have no opinion on it and then have her on your show? This is what makes them evil people.
By this story.
What I'm saying, you're now making assumptions about it.
No, but if a child has been raped, we should do a lot better than put a book on a library
You're literally
shelf.
creating a story behind a child that you don't know. Let me show you a form. This is a form.
She keeps talking over her.
Contained in Broward County, Florida. Okay. I'm going to show it to the audience, and then I'm going to show it to you. This is called the opt. Yeah, please, I'm going to hand it to you. It's called the opt-out form.
She's such an evil person.
An opt-out form would allow any parent, because you said you are in favor of parental rights.
I am.
It would allow any parent to opt out of their child being able to take books out of the library without their parents' permission.
Okay.
So that Moms for Liberty, why not advocate that every school in America have an opt-out form so that a parent who doesn't want their child to access a book like All Boys Aren't Blue,
right,
that they can make that choice? Because then each parent, including a liberal parent, a black parent, a parent who wants their child to read a book about African-American history, then they get their rights.
We want children to read books.
Why not just opt out for yourself rather than tell other parents what they can and cannot?
First of all, I think what you're talking about here is a wonderful step in the right direction. We should be having conversations about this. This is about local control. A lot of these decisions are made at the local school board level. And that's where these decisions should be made. And there should be vibrant conversations about what's happening in our public schools and what kids have access to. Joy, however, maybe we could just put all the books with all the graphic sexual content, the dildos, the rape, the incest.
I'm sorry.
Let's do
She keeps talking over her.
Excuse me.
Let's put a curtain up in the library like they used to do.
One moment.
Remember when we were little and you would go to the video store?
The books that Moms for Liberty.
The books
that Moms for Liberty.
With pornography.
She's just a horrible host. She tries to maintain the conversation by talking over her guest and bullying them. I hope that you guys can see that. I don't know why she has a job. She represents the evil of the left, not liberalism, which is liberty of the individual. She represents the authoritarians that want to seize control, like Trudeau.
I know that I've seen.
We could just do that in the public library.
I have seen tapes of what Moms for Liberty does, and you all go into school board meetings and you read graphic stuff.
Continuous conversation.
No, it's not.
There's America used to understand that there's something called age-appropriate content.
Right, and here's my question again. Again. Ruby Bridges Goes to School is on the list of books that Moms for Liberty has attempted to have removed.
Absolutely not.
It absolutely is. Let me ask about the people.
I believe Tiffany Justice before I believe MSNBC and Joy Reid,
who are making the decision for their parents, because you have not answered yet why a liberal parent or an African-American parent can't say,
we have parents who are Democrats who are members of our organization.
But you're still trying to make decisions for all the kids. Here are some.
This is the first time that MSNBC has ever stood up for parental rights. What about me not wanting my kid to go to a grooming event, and yet they want to drag them there because they want to decide what is appropriate? And it's the same thing with what they're teaching in schools, that kids have to learn about sexuality at an early age. They're trying to destroy the innocence of our children. And yet she's claiming that Moms for Liberty are the tyrants, the first time that MSNBC and the left have pretended to care for parental rights in order to feed children pornography.
Of the parents that are filing, or some of your advocates. Bridget Ziegler, the Moms for Liberty co-founder, the wife of the recently ousted Florida Republican Party chairman, Christian Ziegler, who allegedly was involved in threesomes, same-sex threesomes. Mrs. Ziegler was removed from the school board at which she was a leader. You've had
she wasn't removed from the school board.
Okay, you have Lauren DePaula.
Are we going to go over all the pedophilia that has been committed by the left? Are you going to attack these individuals and state that they represent the entire group? Well, you know, you had somebody on MSNBC who was a pedo, and I guess that makes you a pedo, and that completely annihilates your whole network. Guilt by association is not guilt of the individual, biatch.
She was making book ban requests in Alachua County, but then records show that she and her husband didn't live there. They'd sold their home in that county. Carrie Blair in Tennessee, who was arrested for property theft charges after allegedly stealing from Target, skip scanning in Target. Why should those three...
I'm sorry, it's so funny that they're calling out a theft from a Target when they applaud shoplifters and say that they're just doing it to steal bread for their families as they walk out with TVs. And now they're going again attacking Moms for Liberty on the basis that a huge organization has a few people that may or may not have committed crimes.
People get to make decisions about what other children should be able to read. Other parents' children should be able to read.
Do you know that I served as a school?
Why allow the criminals to forbid pornography in the schools? That's the framing of the question, except that they're not mentioning the porn part.
board member from 2016 to 2020.
Are you going to answer my question?
Yeah, I'm
because
going
we don't
to.
have an
Not that you ever answered her questions.
endless time.
Joy, I'm going to answer your question, but I need you to understand that when I was an elected representative, I would sit on that dais, and how dare I, sitting there as an elected representative, judge a parent when they would come to the podium to speak and advocate for their child? Because as we started this conversation, we'll end it. Every parent has a fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children.
So you're going to speak over her again.
Let us end on a point of agreement.
About a parent's education level, their sexual orientation.
One moment. All the moments are mine. I'm going to tell
It's not what America's about.
I'm going to answer. I'm going to ask my question, Ms. Justice. Mrs. Justice. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
If a parent believes that their child should be able to read Ruby Bridges,
we believe that that children should be able to read.
Then how can Moms
American
for Liberty insist that the school board take that book away and then say
she just told you that she agrees that these people should be allowed to read that book? So what you're doing is a straw man here. You're asking her to defend an example that is the worst representation of the group, or not even true. That's what a straw man is. MSNBC, experts in doing so.
That a parent who wants the child to be able to read it must purchase it. That's essentially putting a tax on parents who want their children to read the book. Your kids get to have books for free that you agree with, but children who want to read, or parents who want their children to read books.
Yes, because porn should not be allowed in the student library. And if parents are so horrendous as the parental figure, as adults, that they want their children to read the porn, then I don't believe as a taxpayer that I should be paying for it. Of course, the left wants everything for free.
You don't have to purchase it. That doesn't sound
Joy,
fair.
Did you know that in the city that we're sitting in, only a quarter of children are reading on grade level?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And so while we're having this conversation about books in libraries, two things should be happening.
That's a great point.
We should be talking about literacy rates and the fact that America's kids are not learning how to read, and we should be having vibrant conversations about what books should be in libraries.
Absolutely.
Well, that was really frustrating. As I pointed out numerous times, all that Joy Reid does is strawman her opponent, and this is not even a real conversation. All she is doing is framing the group in the most negative light. She's trying to score political points. It's not about having a conversation. She never answered at what point stories about incest and anal rape of a child by his relatives should be allowed in public schools. And I asked that question to you guys. If you guys can tell me a good time to have that as a possibility in your child's school, then feel free to buy that book and give them to them. And hopefully they aren't in my child's class, because I'm going to assume that you're a pedo and that my child is in danger from your kid. So I would absolutely love to know the parents that are giving such a book to their children so that we never have them over and that my son never goes to their house. That's my personal take here. And Joy Reid is a slimy, evil person who makes millions of dollars, but America is somehow racist because they allow racists on MSNBC wearing a Trump wig, which is cultural appropriation, to make all that money. Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. Good job, Tiffany Justice. Well done. Peace. Leave your thoughts in the comments.